Happy Saturday. Welcome to the Scoop World Order. I hope you guys are having a great weekend. Some nice weather in Central Ohio. Nice day. I hope you guys get outside a little bit. If you're around the country, I hope you guys are having a great Saturday. Getting close, folks. Conditioning starts up this week. The coaches are going to get off the road pretty quick here. Camps are coming. Good time to join BuckeyeScoop.com. Our website has been just incredible with the information. We're getting the inside information on the team, recruiting. A lot of really big pieces are moving. What 5-stars are coming to visit, what weekends are coming. We have all that on our website. We're breaking a lot of information. So I hope you guys join us on BuckeyeScoop.com. Because if you like this podcast, this is the website's like the podcast for 23 hours a day. So awesome place to be. Would love to see you guys on there. If you enjoy our content, please leave us a like, click subscribe. Also click that little alert bell. Again, I appreciate you guys that are all on here each and every night, each and every day. Saturday, we should go midday. We like to watch the UFC fights at night, so just so you guys kind of can be aware of that. We'll be back to 7-10 tomorrow on Sunday, but just an incredible show today, talking about a really good defensive end. But before we get into that, just a little bit of housekeeping. I just wanted to do the fact that our drop, repthescoop.com, is closing on the 21st. So I know a lot of you guys want to know about gear. How do I get the gear? Rep the Scoop, REPTHESCOOP.com. Type that into your browser. Takes you right to our store. The Urban Meyer quarter zip is the hottest selling item of all time for Buckeye Scoop. Because for a while, we couldn't get the quarter zip Nike in white. We got them, baby. So make sure you order those. They're going fast. The blacked out hat. Scoop had it first with the American flag. I love it so much. We have our flag. You guys are going on vacation, want to represent guys out on the boat. Wherever you guys are at, you can throw that Buckeye Scoop flag up when you're tailgating, loud and proud. National championship gear, my personal favorite. Love it. I'm going to be wearing that a lot. I love the Buckeye Scoop national championship gear. The blackout hoodie. Again, the Carhartt hoodies are excellent. They're my favorite hoodies I've ever worn. So I got one of these. This is going to be one of my go-tos, the blacked out logo with the blacked out flag. Excellent. We've got the traditional gear as well. And finally, the regular Scoop hoodie. So repthescoop.com. Go get your gear. The 21st, the store closes. And then give us about 2 weeks to get everything printed up and shipped out to you. And you'll be able to rock it. So for summer, you guys will be looking fresh. And when that fall hits, you're going to have the perfect hoodie. Again, I appreciate all you guys. This has been our biggest drop that we've ever had. So I want to get that housekeeping out of the way. Before I bring in Nevadabuck, Nevada, Luke Waffles, good looking kid, man. He is a kid that has narrowed it down to about 5 schools. Ohio State is made at the cut. Larry Johnson is very interested in this kid. What do you know about him? Good looking kid, physical kid. I gotta get his tape fired up here, but what are your thoughts on Luke Waffle?
I mean, this would be a big get. This is a player who's, the number one player in New Jersey. Got a series of official visits coming up. Got a brother who committed to Michigan and then didn't like it and then transferred to Penn State. So I think a lot of people are kind of connecting those dots and thinking this guy's a Penn State lock. That's not the information I have. I hear it's wide open right now. He's got an official visit scheduled to Ohio State, I believe, in a couple of weeks. And so, Ohio State's going to have a chance to, kind of get after it. And, when you're down to the final 5, down to the final 4, really, you've got more than a chip and a share. Ohio State believes that they're in it. And this is a guy that's really high on their list. Larry Johnson has been, targeting him, letting him know that he's being targeted. He's certainly a priority recruit for Ohio State at this point in time. And given the success of Ohio State, given the success of Larry Johnson in terms of putting guys into the league, and with the the pedigree of a guy like Matt Patricia and Ryan Day recruiting it makes for a really compelling case. So this is a guy I keep an eye on really, really carefully, because it's this isn't just one that's a name for some guy in 2028. This is a guy that's here and now. We're in it to win it with this. Ohio State's got a very competitive NIL package put together for him, and we played the kind of defense that this guy wants to play. So this is the name I've been told by Ohio State to keep an eye on very carefully. So I would tell the fans to do it as well, because really, really good looking. I mean, number one player in the state of New Jersey, and really good player that Ohio State could very well be ending up as a Buckeye.
Yeah, and Jersey is a weird state because they have some really, really high-end players. Like Malcolm Jenkins was a Jersey kid, wasn't highly recruited, a 3-star kid that we found who obviously became, like a fringe NFL Hall of Famer, outstanding player at Ohio State, All-American captain, checked every box, first-round pick. But Urban Meyer loved New Jersey, man. He loved those kids from Bosco because Jersey kids, this will sound like a super cliche and Sopranos, but they're tough. They're really tough kids. These are tough, hard nosed programs like Bosco. I mean, it is not for the faint of heart to play at some of the big time schools in Jersey, and the football is really good. It's kind of like I think 10 years ago people didn't realize how good Georgia was, but Georgia's a monster. That's a monster. 10, 15 years ago, Georgia was kind of on that come up 20 years ago. Jersey's kind of like that. They're not anywhere near as deep as Georgia, Florida, Texas, but their top end can play with anybody. And this kid's one of their top end guys. And you're watching his tape. He's explosive. Larry Johnson, for those of you that didn't know about him, is obsessed with burst off the line, get off. That's like, if you don't have the get off, you're not going to play for Larry. He's not going to even recruit you. So this kid gets off the ball, great with his hands. Again, I put the photo for the thumbnail of him in his stance because he looks like Joey. He looks like Joey Bosa at the same age. He's not as good as Joey was. Joey was the best end in the country his senior year, but this kid, physically, they look alike, muscle structure, height. Joey might have been a touch heavier, but they're both 6'5", 245, 250-ish, and Joey started as a freshman and was really, really good. So I like this kid's film. Again, the brother thing is always interesting to me because, part of again, I'm sure I never had a brother. I had a sister, but, there's this fantasy of you play together in high school and you might have a year or two apart, but, like, is that really the best decision? What if one of the brothers is better than the other brother, substantially better? Like we had, like Max Clare, him and his little brother were both at Purdue. And Max hit the portal and came to Ohio State and got a big chunk of money, and he's the best tight end in the country. And he left little brother behind, And again, I'm sure that's tough because they're both tight ends. So, when your older brother's playing, you're probably not going to play. So maybe he was trying to clear the way for his brother to play, but I don't know. The brother thing's always weird. Like, it's like I always go back to the Borens. Like Justin Boren wanted to go to Ohio State, ended up going to Michigan. His dad bought him a nice truck to go to Michigan, and Bo Schembechler, whose dad played for, was like, how on earth could you ever let your son go to Ohio State when you're a Michigan man and blah, blah, blah. And Mike Bourne was a bad dude. I mean, he was a really good player in college. And so Justin got a new 250 and he got to go to Michigan for a couple years. And, Lloyd Carr took off, and then all of a sudden Justin hated it and he transferred and came to Ohio State. So it was an interesting ride for Justin. Justin started that 06 1 versus 2 game, and he started the 07 game. And then all of a sudden it's like, Rich Rod showed up and he hated him and he came to Ohio State. And then Zach went to Ohio State. Jacoby went to Ohio State. So I don't know. The brother thing's interesting to me, though, because, is this kid, I mean, if a kid's substantially better, like this kid, I think is much better than his brother is, his older brother. I mean, you got to do what's best for you, man. And you got to go to where you want to go. And you might not want to play with your brother anymore. I mean, he might be disgruntled, and he's already transferred once, and there was a thought when I was coming out of high school, one of my teammates was a really good player. He's better than me in high school, committed to Pitt. And, there was a part of me, it's like, man, it'd be really fun to go to Pitt with him, and we could be teammates, and, he could be the guard and I could be the tackle. We could play. But like, he ended up, not staying. He stayed for less than a year and left college football. I don't want to play anymore. So like, if you make a decision based upon what someone else is doing, like you might regret. Now, again, this is before Ohio State offered me, and I had, a bunch of kind of average schools, Northwestern, Pitt, Vanderbilt, Stanford. Like there wasn't like a Georgia or a, USC out there. It was like hoping for Ohio State. Otherwise I was probably going to end up at Northwestern or Stanford. But, if I would have gone based upon where my teammate went, who was like a brother to me, it would have been a disaster, because there's no portal back then. Nevada, what are your thoughts on the brother thing? Because I think that, you've been around, I always talk about you've owned teams, you've been around teams, you've managed teams, you've coached teams. Like, the brother thing is interesting because I think that there's always that thing of, can I make it easier on the family? Go, where I'm wanted. Like I mean, Lorenzo Styles Jr. goes to Notre Dame. Sonny goes to Ohio State. Lorenzo ends up transferring to Ohio State, which makes it great for, his folks, because they can just go to one game instead of trying to split up and go to two. But what are your thoughts on the brother thing?
Well, it's just so dependent on the situation. When I'm told on this is that will not be the determining factor, and it's not. look, sometimes it works to our advantage with the Bosas, just like with the Bosas, we're like, hey, we wish there was a third Bosa and a fourth Bosa. And, with the Borns, it ended up, we ended up getting some really good Borns down the pike after the first one. But, no, I just think it's so dependent. It's such an individual decision for kids, but I certainly don't write it off in terms of somebody going one way that somebody's going to follow them, because a lot of times people just don't want to do that. They want to strike out on their own. And Ohio State has had a lot of, I mean, a lot more success in New Jersey than you think. And I'm thinking just off the top of my head, I think Luke Whippler was Jersey. Cody Simon was Jersey. Jordan Fuller was Jersey. Eli Apple, Davison was Jersey. So, we're having some success with Jersey football players, and Ohio State's got quite the reputation out there. Now, Penn State does as well. I mean, Penn State used to own, yeah, New Jersey. Penn State, if you're a kid in New Jersey, that's where you went when Penn State was kind of the power of the East. And obviously they're fighting to kind of reassert that. But look, I like Ohio State's chances in this, brother or no brother being there. Obviously his brother committed to Michigan in the first place. Not sure what that means. I don't remember Ohio State even being in on him, so I'm not sure if he had an Ohio State offer or there was any interest there. But I always just kind of take and think, because look, there's lots of kids out there that are 5-star kids that Ohio State's not in on, that hasn't made an offer on, because they just know intuitively, or from talking to their agent or their mentors or their intermediaries, that they don't have a chance. And the recruiting game is all about allocating your resources in spots where you have a chance. There used to be a bookshelf game called Mr. President, and you had like votes, and you had to like spend certain time in certain states and where you'd put the votes, and it was all about allocating your votes while not wasting. You don't want to waste 3 million votes in California if somebody else is going to put 4 million, and you lost those votes, but you could have placed those votes in Texas or whatever it was. Well, recruiting's kind of the same way. You can't waste your resources. You can't chase every kid. You just can't. You don't have enough money, you don't have enough time, you don't have enough energy to do that. So you've really got to kind of drill down on who are kids that we have a realistic shot of, who, where can we take our best, put our best foot forward. Well, this is one of those kids that Ohio State feels like they're in on, they've got a chance on, he's buying what they're selling. And I think that official visit that's coming on, I believe it's on May 30th. That's going to tell the tale. I mean, Michigan, or excuse me, Penn State's after that. I know there's a couple other after that, but Ohio State's going to have a chance. And Ohio State on an official visit, coming off a national championship, is about as impressive as you can be. And that's why I really think that we've got a good shot here.
Well, and obviously, Penn State had the second overall pick in the draft. He was a great player, but we had all four of our guys get drafted. I mean, Jack, JT. I mean, we've got really good players coming back this year. Larry's put more guys in the NFL than any defensive line coach I would bet in my life. There's just no way that anybody can touch him, because he's been doing it since. I mean, Browns fans like Courtney Brown was a Larry Johnson jam. And again, I always say, like, when guys don't make it in the NFL or they bust out or whatever, like, it's not Larry's fault. I mean, when Larry had him, he was the best player in college. He was the number one pick, and he was a freak. So, I mean, and then Michael Haynes, I mean, I can go back to, I mean, hell, when I was in high school, he was putting guys in the league in the first round. And then you go all the way through his time there. Then he comes here in 14, and Joey Bosa and all these guys. And he's a monster. He's a guy that I keep telling people that I think he's got a lot of gas in the tank. I mean, and I've said this a million times, and again, I know people can say whatever, Kirk, but his base salary is $1.4 million. His bonus is like, if he wins a national championship, he probably makes over $2 million, like last year. So I mean, these coaches all have, like, if you win the national title, you get like a 30% salary bonus added on top of your base. So it's like, we're going to be good again this year. So you won a couple rounds of the playoffs, won the Big Ten, beat Michigan. These guys all have incentives in their contract. So it's like, do I really think that he wants to go leave that on the table when he's got a loaded defensive line room with Edric Houston and these guys and Cade McDonald? I know everyone's like terrified about defensive line, defensive tackle. And again, I get it. We're a little thin. But there's some teams that don't have anything. They don't have a receiver. They don't have a quarterback. They don't have an offensive line. We've got 4 starters back on the O-line. Plus, we got the best, one of the best left tackles in the country to transfer here. So it's like, I don't know. I like this kid. Really like his tape. The brother thing, like I said, I just think that, to me, I categorize the brother thing a lot like the teammate. when you've got a teammate that is going somewhere and you say, oh, do you want to go stay with your teammate, stay with your bro? Um, I always think that that's a terrible move unless it's the best fit for you. If it's the best fit for you, then you do it. Again, because I mentioned like, my friend, he didn't last a year at Pitt. And again, like he just didn't want to play football anymore, whatever. And again, that's fine. Like, he's had a great life and everything else. But like, if I'd have gone somewhere because of him, it would have been, and I'd been like, well, damn, I came here to play with you. You take off. Cause like these guys, with the portal, you might go somewhere and, hey, yeah, man, we're going to tear it up and it's going to be great. And we're going to be boys and you're going to be my best man and I'm going to be your best man. And then after 2 years, they might be saying, hey, man, this place ain't for me. And I'm 7th on the depth chart. And I got to go play somewhere. And this school's offered me, a starting spot and NIL money. So I don't know. Like I go back to, and this was what was great. And this is why I love David Patterson to death. He's one of my best friends, one of my favorite teammates ever. Dave, it was just funny because we were talking about our recruiting class and like literally like over 50% of our class didn't make it. Like it was sad. And some of those guys were like guys that I thought we were going to be boys with forever and best friends. And, like I said, like it's kind of like you think it's like you go and your recruiting class are your boys forever. But, that as soon as you get there, the recruiting class splinters into every different direction because some guys play immediately. Like Dante Whitner was in my class. He graduated early. So he was kind of more like in the class, ahead of me because he got here in December. And then some guys redshirt, some guys fall off the earth. I mean, some guys start to play earlier. And then everything just kind of splinters. Like you kind of go in the direction of your team. And like I was a guy that started as a freshman. So I didn't really hang out with a lot of kids in my class because they weren't playing. Not yet. So I was hanging out with the older guys that were starting, Nick Mangold and Rob Sims and TJ Downing and Doug Daddish and those guys, Troy Smith. And it's just interesting. And like, that's like one of the things about with recruiting. And I'd always say this to these kids. Like if they'd ask me, if any of these kids would ask me, I'd say, look, you go where you think you have, nobody else. You have the best chance for success and go somewhere that you like it. Because again, the coach can leave, your position coach can leave, the strength coach can change, like, your buddies in the recruiting class can all leave. So it better be about you. And there's nothing wrong with being selfish because it's your life when you get there. Nevada, your thoughts on that? Because again, I always laugh when people say your teammate's going here or your buddy's going here or whatever. But like, once guys get to places, man, it's like, especially now, it's kind of everyone's an independent contractor. Like, some of these guys, they never see the inside of a dorm. They get a dorm assigned to them, but they're going straight to their luxury apartment, which again, it's fine. Like, welcome to the free market. But what are your thoughts on that?
Well, look, I've always heard about the recruiting package deals, and I'm not saying they never happen, but I'd say 99 times out of 100 they don't. And sometimes recruiting takes it. It's kind of like you when you got Willie the Wildcat or whatever that was tattooed on your back, like John Wick in the thing, and then you go to Ohio State and you have to get that thing painted over and stuff. And who knew your life? You could have been one of those Northwestern guys there, like a journalism major or something like that, living in Evanston right now, wearing purple all the time. And instead, look at you. You're repping the scoop, wearing the black, and you're like a member of the Night Watch, always wearing the black.
I
You're,
am
you're kind of our big cuddly crow that we have here.
our big,
So
our big, our
uh,
big gothic crow, the big gothic Undertaker crow.
Willie the Wildcat.
Uh,
Yeah, you were Willie the Wildcat. Are
uh,
you gonna have that tree, that Stanford tree, like tattooed on your ankle or something like that? But no, look at you. You're a big Buckeye. But no, I don't think. Yeah, I think everybody at the end of the day, sometimes it's nice if you see some other good players. People like to play with other good players. That is an absolute real thing. They want to play with there's other good players playing. They want to play against good guys. The iron sharpens iron thing is really, that's for sure. But when it comes down to brothers or friends or teammates or things like that, man, that's so hit and miss. And on a kid like this, like I said, Ohio State's kind of vetted this stuff out because the worst thing Ohio State can do in these situations is spend all this time, spend all this money, spend all this energy. Because remember, anytime you're doing it, it's a zero-sum game. You've only got a finite amount of energy to put into the recruiting thing. You put into somebody and you finish second, Well, look, maybe that's good down the road for you with if he decides to transfer or whatever, dot dot dot. But the bottom line is you've neglected other people. Those are other calls you could have made, other visits you could have taken, and you spent it on a guy that you didn't get. So Ohio State feels pretty good about this, and like I said, that's a pretty good indicator that we as fans should certainly be paying attention to him.
Yeah, I said, you nailed it when you talk about budgeting your time, because that's the thing. And I tell this to, people that are in the, in the fan base and support Ohio State. I'm like, look, because everyone's obsessed with the 5 stars, the 5-star tackle, the 5-star corner, the 5-star quarterback. But like, does he really have interest in us? Now, at this point in time, if you're not interested in Ohio State, I just don't think you're serious as, wanting to be developed to become an NFL star, because at this point, like with what Ryan Day has done since he's taken over the program, it's the most obscene thing I've ever seen. Because, we always had like a deficit at certain positions. Like, we've always had great receivers and linebackers and D-line and whatever. But like now it's like, my God, like first round tackle, Taylor Decker, Paris Johnson, Isaiah Simmons, Donnie Jackson, Billy Price, from the Urban era. Like, those are all first rounders on the O-line alone. You look at our quarterbacks. Justin Fields is making like $40 million a year. CJ Stroud's going to make $50-60 million a year when he gets his new deal. So it's like we always kind of had a deficit at quarterback when put him in the league. You look at our secondary, our linebackers, our D-line now, it's like there's no deficits anywhere. And so I think that, and plus we just won the Natty. So on top of the NFL development, you get the benefit of dominating and winning a national championship. So I don't know, like, and a lot of these kids are setting officials, and I just don't know if there's ever been a wider gap between us as the top school in the country in terms of production of talent, national championship, everything else, and the next school. Because I think the next school would probably be Georgia, maybe Texas. But I feel like that gap is wider than it's ever been. Because for a while, like when Georgia was winning, Alabama was close and we were close, and Clemson was close, and there was always like kind of these schools that were, maybe they'd won a championship the year or two before, but like with us, like we've got this runway right now where we're just on fire, and I'm excited. I think this is going to be an amazing couple of months here. Just going through the official visits that are getting set. We've got big time offensive tackles. Good.
Kirk, let me ask you a question about that, because
Sure.
I totally, I think it's a great point, and forget our hate of Michigan, but has the gap between Ohio State and Michigan right now. You're talking about a team that won the national championship 2 years ago, but I feel like there couldn't. That maybe there's been times when it's been this big, but are they really even a factor to us anymore? I'm talking about on the recruiting trail, from a talent standpoint. Like, I don't even feel like I don't even think when I was thinking about like who's next on the list, and I'm thinking about it, I'm like, yeah, Georgia, yeah, Texas, yeah, hey, Oregon's kind of an up and comer. Hey, you got to always watch out for Miami, Florida State, USC. But like, it took me a while to get down to Michigan. I'm like, is Michigan even a factor as far as you're concerned?
Well, here's what I look at. And again, I don't want to go wrong and say the wrong thing, but when you look at a lot of these top recruits, so for instance, Mark Bowman is he's the number 1 tight end in the country from Mater Dei, Huntington Beach. He's going on 7 official visits: Miami, Oregon, Ole Miss, Ohio State, Southern Cal, Georgia, Texas. So that's a 5-star. He's going to Ohio State, not going to Michigan. You look at another kid that we'll probably talk about tomorrow, Aaron Thomas, 5-star offensive tackle, Washington, Ohio State, Florida State, Texas A&M. Like, I just, when you see a lot of these kids setting their official visits, I'm not seeing Michigan. Like, I'm not seeing like the 5-star tackle, because you think, again, with unlimited visits, it changes everything. Because when you do an official visit, and I'm just going to break this down real quick for the nomenclature for folks that are just learning recruiting and might not be sure. An unofficial visit can be done as often as you'd like, but you have to pay for everything. You have to pay for your airfare, pay for your hotel, pay for your meals, whatever. An official visit, which you only get one of per school, is all expenses paid. airfare, hotel, go to eat dinner at Hyde Park, go to town hall, have yourself a time. So there was a cap previously of 5 visits per kid. There is no longer a cap. So now a kid can take 10 visits. Like Felix Ojo is taking like 9 official visits, which I think is stupid. Just because eventually it gets old to me. It's like, dude, it's like going on 9 vacations in like 3 weeks. Like it gets old at some point. But the fact that these 5-star kids, like the kid from Modern Day, the tight end, and this tackle, are taking official visits to Ohio State, and they're not driving 3.5 hours north to take an official visit to Michigan, or whatever, flying or whatever. It tells me all I need to know about like the national perception of Michigan. They won a national title 2 years ago, and like I feel like 2 years ago. And again, you guys don't know this, I'm a big Titanic aficionado. Like I've watched every James Cameron documentary on the sinking and all. Like I love that stuff. But 2 years ago was like the Titanic loading up with all of the rich folk and getting on the thing and leaving the docks and waving at everybody and jetting out there. Right now is like they hit the iceberg an hour ago. And the thing is like cracking and the lights are flickering and the band is playing and it's about to go, split in half and go, into the ocean forever to the depths. That's where Michigan is right now. That's how much momentum they have. And again, I've never seen a team who won a championship lose all of the momentum within 18 months, whatever it's been. I've never seen it. These 5-star kids aren't visiting Michigan, not the ones nationally. They're coming here. They're not going to Michigan. And again, they won a national championship 18 months ago. So again, that's not Kirk being a hater. And I know all the Michigan folks, they just love me to death. They love tweeting me, talking to me. I don't even read Twitter. So they just kind of, it's just hot air at this point. But I think it's amazing, because again, we're not the ones that tell these kids to visit places. They pick the hottest schools. And again, when you see these 5-stars that have unlimited visits, and with unlimited visits, you can go visit Michigan for free. They'll pay for it. And they still don't go. So they're coming to Ohio State, though. What are your thoughts about it?
Yeah, I totally agree. But again, we've talked about it. When you think about how they won their national champ, they cheated their way to a national championship. So they never really earned it. They never really earned it with, great recruiting momentum. Or because you even go back and you look at the things, none of the whole thing made sense. Their championship run came out of nowhere. It wasn't born from great recruiting or building up the team over time. It just kind of came out of nowhere, and it left just as quickly as it came in. Um, and now, like I said, because we talk to recruits' parents, we talk to agents, and Michigan's just not. They're just not on the radar. And this is pre NCAA sanctions. So. So I don't know. It just cracks me up because I see who we're recruiting, and who we're competing with for these recruits across the country. And I'm just telling you, it's not Michigan. I'm not sure Michigan's in the top 10, maybe not even the top 15 in terms of names I hear the most in terms of these recruits. And if you don't have an in-state recruiting base like Michigan does not have, and then you're not in on the national recruits, and I think now what are they, like 42nd in the
They're
country in recruiting?
I have it on the screen right now. They're 47th.
Yeah, I mean,
With 5 commitments. And I mean, they're behind Cal, Berkeley, Cincinnati, UCLA, Wisconsin, BYU, South Florida, Central Florida, Vanderbilt, Rutgers, Iowa. I would never recruit anybody, Boston College. I mean, we're up here at 3. And if we get a couple of these guys, we're probably going to be at 1. We get a couple of these guys over the next month. We've got 13 commitments. They have 5. Yeesh. 5 commitments, 1 4-star and 4 3-stars. And I would bet none of these kids have an Ohio State offer. I don't know if Brady Schmiegel does. He might. Nope. No Ohio State offer. So they have a quarterback that's a 4-star, and then they've got a bunch of 3-stars. Nobody with an Ohio State offer. So stunning.
Yeah, it's wild.
I mean,
Yeah,
stunning.
it really.
You know, when you'd see Clemson win a national championship, and you'd see Bama win one, and Georgia, and there'd be like that run where for a couple years they'd be really, you know, bringing in some good hauls of recruits. You know, when Florida, obviously with Urban, he was killing it and had the #1 class multiple years in a row. But man, they're 47th right now. So
Can you
good.
imagine honestly, just suspend disbelief just for a second, and can you imagine if Ohio State was sitting at 47th I mean, even for a split second that we were 47th in recruiting?
Yeah,
It
dude.
would it would
We own a message board together. I can imagine like that goes. My brain goes right to what would the message board be like if we had 5 commitments this late.
It would be the end of
and
it
four
would be the end
were
of
3
days.
cents. It would be the end of days. It would be Armageddon. They'd be burning. They'd be burning the Woody Hayes down right now. Especially if we just won a national championship.
Well, at any point, though, I mean, you know, Ohio State, we're third, and people are complaining about, oh, we didn't get this kid or this kid from Ohio went to Oregon or whatever. And it's like, we're third. If we were 47th, you'd be like, oh, Nevada, we got to get out of the business because this place is going to burn down. So I guess the message to you fans out there is be grateful. Be grateful for what we have because man, you could be on the other side of that. And those are Michigan fans that really think that they've got like a real program and they're sitting 40. Now I'm not saying they're going to finish 47th, but the fact that they are 47th and this is pre NCAA sanctions, it's crazy train.
It's stunning. You know, I wish that there was a way you could like kind of, and I would never, I don't have the time to do this, but like restack the classes after portal editions are added. You know, I mean, like, I don't know. Like, again, I know that doesn't make any sense, but like what if, you know, our class last year had Julian Sain in it, like on signing day? Because he was at Alabama for like 2 weeks. Then he came here and it's like, so we had a 5-star quarterback or like Max Clare, who's going to be a 1st-round pick. Like, I don't know. Like Caleb Downs at Bama for 1 year and he came here. If he would have been in that class originally as a 5-star, I'm sure he would have been the #1 class. But
hey, I just want you to know, I'm not sure. Caleb Downs is really good player.
Again, I know that there's people out there that are they're traditionalists and they hate the portal and hate NIL. Well, I love NIL more than anything in the world because Caleb Downs is a Buckeye, and he is as good of an influence on that team as there is, and he's as good of a player as there is in the country. And if he was a cornerback, he'd probably be the #1 pick. It's hard for a safety to go #1 overall, but he's like a Pro Bowler as a rookie type good, you know. And I love every time I talk to kids on the team and they tell me about Caleb Downs and the stuff he does and the extra work that he does and how he teaches young guys how to do things the right way. And like, those are the guys that I love to see when they get paid. Because again, I think that the culture value that they inject into the program is just incredible. Because look, we had guys like that. We had AJ Hawk, Dante Whitner, Santonio Holmes, like guys that were tough, guys that were grinders, workers, like
Ray Small.
Oh God, yeah, I could go the other way too. I mean, I've got a way. I have a way longer list of those guys. That I do the AJ Hawks and those the Razor guys, the guys that were the last in the building and the first ones out. Some of my heroes. Oh my God, Tress had me.
No, they were first in the building when they were stealing the gear.
Yeah, first in the building to Jack. No, that was yeah. No, that was the one kid. I'm not gonna name the kid, but he lifted up the equipment gate and had his little kid slide in there and stole a bunch of gold pants and ran out. I was like, oh my God. The brotherhood though. He is part of the brotherhood. I was like, yes, I told David Patterson, I was like, man, some of these guys are like excommunicated. Like my brotherhood's about 15%, maybe 20% of the career. That's about it. Because some of them, I'm just like, I couldn't even look at them. I was like, you're gonna steal from your own teammates, really? But whatever. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. But no, I just I love when you can bring in like a Will Howard. Will Howard is the greatest transfer we've ever had because we don't win a title without that kid. And Julian Saint got to be around that kid for a year. And sure as can be, he's killing it through his first mini camp with the Steelers and through OTAs. He's getting incredible reports from over there. And I've got great sources at Pittsburgh. So, God, if he becomes good with Pittsburgh, it's going to be incredible. I hope he does. All right, Nevada. It's Saturday. It's about to be UFC time. Does Dagestan Poppy have anything for us today?
I believe Marion Santos. You bet Marion Santos, and I bet first fight Tisha Pennington to go to decision. And we're all rooting for
Perfect.
Alex Smalley in the PGA. Alex's dad is a member at BuckeyeScoop.com, and Alex was tied for the lead first round. He's kind of slipped down. He's in about 20th, but he's only like 4 or 5 shots off the lead in the PGA Championship. So root him on as well. So we got lots of things to root for over the weekend, and lots of things to be grateful for. And we just appreciate you sharing some time with us on a Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, and tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, as of this moment, we've got Caden Dixon Wyatt on the show. So my boy Caden Wixon Diet, Caden Dixon Wyatt will be on the show. So we're going to interview him. Get your questions ready, get your super chats ready, and we'll see what we can do. All right, if you guys enjoy our content, please leave us a like, click subscribe, also click that little alert bell. Please subscribe to our Apple Podcast feed. That thing is exploding. Thanks to you guys. Thank you so much that have joined it. Completely free, and you guys are great. So if you guys enjoy this, again, thank you guys so much for everything you guys are doing. Thank you to our first responders that are working on the weekend, our military folk that are deployed, retired. Again, I hope you guys are doing great. Again, appreciate you guys on this Saturday. I know it's mid-Saturday, so a lot of you guys are out kicking it. Hopefully you guys are having fun with your families and enjoying yourselves. So with that being said, thank you so much, Buckeye Nation. Thank you, Scoop family. Talk to you guys tomorrow. I hope you guys have a great rest of your night. Go Bucks. I caught it, baby. Right at the buzzer, Thugly. I appreciate you, my dude. I caught it as I was getting up. So, all right, Thugly, thank you for the 5. Appreciate you, my dude. He says, how do you feel about OSU asking to get out of noon games? And will this game break the seat record of 106,000? Also, does Jermaine upgrade from Burke? I love trying to get out of these noon games. If Ross Bjork can get the Texas game moved to a night game, then he needs a statue built because the Texas game should be an 8 o'clock start. That should be a national holiday to watch that game because that's going to be a monster game. Arch Manning's the Heisman favorite. Come into the shoe. It'll be loud. And honestly, one of my favorite parts about the playoffs, and I said this last week, is it forced Ohio State to have a night game. It forced the broadcasters to have a night game. Like Fox, they couldn't intervene. They knew that was the marquee game, SEC versus Big Ten. All the networks were praying that the SEC, ESPN, they're all praying that Tennessee would whoop us and knock us out. And they do the stupid SEC chant. But it didn't happen because we ran through them. So it was great. But I like it because I think that it's something where you want to get the biggest benefit out of these matching games. Because if you're going to play them, and you're going to win them, you want to have those good recruits there. That's the whole reason you do it. That's like the same reason why, you dress up nicer when you're going out to the club, like, because, you're trying to look good for the girls. You're not doing it to look good for the dudes, so why do you want to have all the Texas come to town and big ensemble and recruiting girls everywhere and cheerleaders and band and, fireworks and shoot off, strobe lights when we run onto the field and smoke. And it's because you want the recruits to see it. You want them to see the shoe lit and fun. So, I think that it's smart because, again, when you do those noon games, kids from California can't get here. Kids from Florida can barely get here. I mean, these guys all play on Friday night. There's not a flight at 11 o'clock unless they're taking a private jet. They got to get up here, and it's like they got to get on the 6 a.m., Southwest or Frontier flight or whatever from Miami. And it's like, it's tough. I mean, if there's a delay, you're going to miss kickoff, and it's hard to get to the horseshoe You guys have been to games. I mean, it's miserable getting around right before the game. The traffic's crazy and you can't park anywhere. So it's tough. So again, I like the night game. It gives guys a little bit more time to relax. Will this break the seating record of 106? I don't think so, because you have to remember we've removed so many seats from the stadium from like B deck, because we put in a bunch of new suites and we put in that NetJets landing. So a lot of seats are gone now that used to be there. So the stadium doesn't have as many seats. Now they make more money because they put in luxury suites, which they charge a fortune for. But the seats, I don't think, whenever they did that renovation, I don't think we'll ever break the attendance record again, because they took out thousands of seats. So it shrunk the capacity of the stadium, but they make more money. So, and then, will Jermaine Matthews be an upgrade from Denzel? He could be. I mean, Denzel obviously, that wart was that Oregon game, but it's pretty good the rest of the way, man. Lockdown in the playoffs, did a great job in the playoffs. So, could Jermaine be better? Yeah. I mean, Denzel was kind of a late round pick, like I don't know if you went 5th or 6th round. So, I mean, could Jermaine go higher than that? Yeah. But that's up to him, and it's up to our defensive front, because I always tell people, I'm like, look, when Denzel, when they took it over the top and they beat him at Oregon, we only rushed 2 guys, and we didn't get the call in on time, and it was a disaster. I've broken that play down many times on Buckeye Scoop. And so, do I fault a corner if he gets torched and they've got max protect and we only rush 2 guys and the quarterback has forever to throw it? It's not always the cornerback's fault, because you can only cover for so long. If our passer should have got home, then maybe it's a different story. So again, it all works in conjunction with one another. I think Denzel was unfairly criticized a little bit. Now he's got to still play better and break the ball up. And he did not have a great game. Obviously, I'm not trying to deflect that, and it cost him a ton of money draft status wise. But he rebounded and he won the ring, which is what matters. So I appreciate that, Thugly. I hope you have a great Saturday. Again, I appreciate you guys. Give us a follow on Apple Podcasts. I hope that you guys have a great rest of your Saturday. Thank you so much, Buckeye Nation. Thank you, Scoop family. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Hope you guys have a great rest of your night. I'll see you guys at 7. Caden Dixon Wyatt is joining us. You guys have a great night. Go Bucks.